Brilliant. So, welcome everyone to this session on the power of intention. So, the plan for this masterclass is that we're going to look into intention and the power of intention, because it's often said that intention rules the universe. William always frames exercises by going in and saying, intend to get the benefit of the exercise. And, so what actually is intention? So intention is powerful when it's actually more than just words said out loud, and it really is a sort of full body experience. As you know, when we sort of do our land of plenty, and we're taught that thoughts and feelings are not real, except when it comes to the land of plenty. What we do want to do is feel the emotion of the end result, because that's what sort of raises our vibration and focuses on what it is that we're going for, and we bring up the current reality and end result, which sets up structural tension. So intention can actually be thought of as being in tension, as in the tension of the structural tension. So as we know, there's a difference between what we consider soul tension, how that feels, and psychological tension, how that feels. And as part of the creative mechanism, we're taught that we need to be able to hold both at the same time. We need to better hold the end result with the soul tension of what that brings up. And we need to hold current reality and the psychological tension of what that brings up. And we need to bring the psychological tension into awareness and see it so that we can neutralize it and then go in favor of the end result, allowing the structural mechanism of tension seeking resolution. So by default, in our egoic nature and the nature of how we are, we will generally always be in psychological tension until we recognize the psychological tension that's coming up, the current reality, and offer it in favor of the end result instead. And so it's all about our ability to be able to shift our focus. And as we know, one of the first premises that we ever learn in Create Your Destiny is that your focus creates your reality. But the reality that we're creating actually reveals our focus. And quite often what we think we're focused on isn't what we're focused on, and we're actually focused on a compensating strategy or a negative vision. And of course, then we create more of what we don't want as opposed to what we would prefer. So it's recognizing those different states of tension and the intentions that we put into everything that we do. And I would say that one of the first intentions that I do every morning when I wake up is to not be in my egoic self, but to shift to my creative orientation instead. It's understanding that I will every morning, regardless, and will's the same, we will wake up in our ego, because our ego is our survival orientation. It's our vehicle of orientation. And the ego is desperate to know, how is it here? What is it I need to do? What is it I need to be aware of? And of course, when we're in ego, what tends to happen is that we tend to be drawing on past experiences and ruminating on the past experiences. But the ego uses that as a way of projecting into the future and bringing up anxiety around, if I go for this or go for that, this will happen, that will happen, based on what it's known in the past. And so our job as creators is to recognize that and intend to say, okay, thank you, ego, I see what you're bringing up here. Always fundamentally with the limiting beliefs and everything else, it's going to be a lack of safety. And it's about loving that part of ourselves, giving ourselves safety. Because once we've had safety and we can acknowledge what's coming up for us, we can then say, actually, I'm a grown-up now and I can choose differently and I wish to do differently. So I thought I'd just do a little bit of content around how this fits together, because as we know, William draws quite a lot of his work from Robert Fritz's structural tension and creative dynamics and everything that Robert and William sort of were doing in the 80s. So William's work sort of traces back to Robert Fritz's technology for creating and the hermetic and alchemical principles. And the premise is that our subconscious creates our reality, and depending on which level of our consciousness, the superconscious, the logical conscious awake mind, or the unconscious, is giving messages to the subconscious, which then creates our reality. And that most of the time, until we wake up, and we've luckily managed to find William's work, we know that actually we can choose differently. And I always like to say to people that the messages that are coming through from either the superconscious, the conscious mind, or the subconscious mind, it's like 3 different radio stations playing all at once. And we can only tune in to one radio station at any one time. And it doesn't matter whether we're tuned into whatever, if we're tuned into the conscious, which is going to be perhaps a bit of superconscious and unconscious mind when we've woken up, know the difference, or if we're purely in superconscious, or we're in ego FM down the bottom, all 3 radio stations will be playing. And it depends on what one we tune into. And whatever we tune into will be giving the messages to the subconscious, and the subconscious says yes to everything. So I would offer that the first intention is to sit in the tension of which radio station am I tuning into, and let me tune in to the one that's going to connect me to my higher self, to my intuition, to the wisdom. And as we know, we use the triangle of the truth, the wisdom, and love in terms of as a creator. So we're using the structural tension of sitting with the truth of current reality. We know what we're going for, what we would love to create, our end result, and setting up the tension between those two, the intention of being in the tension, will then pop up the wisdom, which is our obvious next step for going forwards. So the one thing that William added to Fritz's work, which separates it out, is that William teaches us how to access our genius, unlock our genius, and actually create more of what we would love by giving us access to things like the land of plenty. Because ordinarily, what I've noticed that as a creator, if I'm just asked, what is it that you want? What would you love to create for the sake of creating it? I will keep myself relatively small. I will go for things I think are achievable. I've learned to sit with tension, but I'm generally not very comfortable in tension. I think most humans are not comfortable with tension, and that's why we try to resolve our tension dysfunctionally. An example of that is when I first engaged with Create Your Destiny, which was during COVID. It was taught then as a 5-week online course, and we've just gone back to offering that again, recognizing not everyone can take 5 days to come into a 5-day container. And actually, it's quite useful doing the 5-week program because you watch the videos, you attend a webinar, do the practice sessions, you have a whole week to let everything percolate before coming back and moving on. So both approaches work. But an example of my own dysfunction and the fact that I wasn't actually tuned in to my true self was before I had the tools from William, in my first learnings, I did watch the videos, I went to the first webinar that week, absolutely loved it, it landed for me perfectly. And then it came to doing, I think it was in week 2, and we came to doing the first intuition readings. And I'd done the first week stuff absolutely fine, got to the second week, and I got myself into such a tizzy. I'd signed up for a Zoom to do the first intuition readings. And I got myself into such a tizzy that 5 minutes before I had to click on the Zoom meeting, I decided I couldn't do it. And I immediately felt better. And I thought, oh, I've made the right decision. The fact I got myself into such a state, I thought, and then I chose not to go. I thought, I've made the right decision. I wasn't meant to go. I was one of those people. It wasn't meant to be. And yet, actually, all I was doing, as I realise now, I was resolving my tension, the innate tension, dysfunctionally. So I immediately felt better. I thought, oh, that's good. That meant I made the right decision. But of course, it wasn't. And all it meant was I delayed my progress because I hadn't had I hadn't used my will to go through the fear and go into what actually would serve my highest good, because I wasn't aware of how to navigate those radio stations and decide which one to tune into. So Ego FM, Conscious FM, and Superconscious Magic FM are always running. Like we know, we're bombarded around us by all radio waves that we can't see, but we cannot tune into two radio stations at the same time and hear cogently what's being said. So it's up to us to tune into the right radio station. And when we do, if we tune into Magic FM, Ego FM doesn't just go like, oh God, she's tuned into Magic FM, so I'm going to stop playing. It keeps going. It keeps going because it knows at some point you're likely to bounce back and listen to what it's playing again. Everything is broadcasting 24/7. So that's why it needs us to come into awareness. Again, one of the overarching themes of William's trainings is awareness. You know, awareness brings choice. The ABC of awareness brings choice, because only when we have awareness can we choose. Otherwise, we're just going to be unconsciously living our lives from the default position of the psychological tension. Does that make sense? Yeah? Awesome. Awesome. So we're always going to be in structural tension when we have a vision and a current reality. And it's a tension that sets up resolution. So we need to resolve our psychological tension in favour of the vision. But actually, one way of doing that is to not just identify what it is that we want to create and define current reality in relationship to it. Because when we do that, we've actually got these underlying patterns running, which will either keep us in a stuck structure, an oscillating structure, or an advancing structure. So when we set up the structural tension, we need to be comfortable with what it is and need to be comfortable with tension. The oscillating structure will allow us to take one step forward and one step back. So we're kind of getting momentum, but then we come back again, and it's that kind of forward and back, forward and back. The stuck is when we just can't see the wood for the trees and not making any progress whatsoever. And of course, in the advancing pattern, we are able to skillfully hold the current reality and the end result. But also then what we do is we hold them simultaneously and allow the tension to resolve in favour of what we want. And we need to bring that up psychologically. So the structural tension that we set up, it is structural. It doesn't matter what mood we're in. It doesn't matter about our personality or self-esteem or beliefs or anything. It's non-equilibrium, seeking equilibrium. So there's a difference then between the positive, productive pull of structural tension and what that looks like compared to the fear-based tension, the psychological tension, which tends to keep us back. And quite often there's a discrepancy. We might put more energy into one than the other, and that will cause us to oscillate. So the awareness is everything in what we do. And so thinking about awareness, as we're taught in the curriculum, conflict is one of the best modes of awareness for working out where we're putting our power, where our intentions are going. So what I thought today might be quite fun to do would be the conflict problem dilemma exercise, because there's nothing like conflict to bring up and to see where it is we've been misplacing our power and our intentions and where we've not been able to hold the tension. So if you're happy with that, I mean, normally I would put people into breakout rooms, but I think because there's just 3 of us here, we could actually just go through the exercise together, and I'll ask the questions and you write down the answers, and then we can share as we go. And then at the end, I'll make sure that what we do is put you and have you define your higher version of self, your higher definition, as the thing to lock into to take you forwards, so that you can always know that when you're in tension and you're creating, you put yourself automatically back into the higher definition of self. And that's a great way of reframing when you can feel tension coming up and go, oh yes, but my higher definition is, and you take that forwards into your lives. So how does that sound? Sound like a plan? Awesome. Brilliant stuff. So what I'd like you to do then, beautiful people, is just come up with a scenario And this is an alchemical process, actually. I mean, I love this exercise because it's super powerful because it is actually alchemy in fully demonstrated the alchemical process of being in nigredo and going to albedo, and then we'll add the red tincture in, which is defining you in your higher definition to fix to lock that in and do the alchemical process of getting us out of stuff that might be going on subconsciously, unconsciously that we're not quite aware of that's been running the show for us. Even though we're good, even though we're powerful creators and creating powerfully, there will always be stuff that's coming up for us because that's the job of the ego is to keep us safe. So first of all, I'd like you to come up with something, in your truth. And so doing that, let's just come into the presence, allow our breath to regulate, come into the here and now, and just come into our hearts, emptying out, intending to get the benefit of the exercise, setting that intention. So we sit in the tension of that, and just lean in. And in the truth of your heart, just notice something that's come up for you, preferably recently, where there's some sort of conflict or problem or dilemma that's happening, maybe around a choice that you're going for, or an event that you're kind of engaged with, which involves somebody else, and you're finding that there's some sort of obstruction there, that things aren't going as smoothly as you'd like it to be. So just take a little time to come up with that. And when you have it, just write it down. So has everyone got something that's going on or has been going on? Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Karen. Just give us a thumbs up. Yeah, Rachel on it. Perfect. Excellent. So, as we know, often when we ask people what they think, they'll write what they feel. And when people are asked what they feel, they write what they think. So I always tend to merge the next two questions in the process together and just like, what is your charged and upset thinking and feeling about conflict and dilemma that you've come up with? So just make a note. So what basically we're tapping into the egoic response. What's the ego saying about this? What's our underlying limiting beliefs and structure saying about this situation? And it's about how you think and how you feel. When you're replete, just give me a thumbs up. Perfect. Thanks. Thanks. Yep. Awesome. Okay. So I think it might be useful at this point if we share what is coming up for you all. So the different conflicts, problems, dilemmas. If you're willing to share, that would be really useful because then we can go through the exercise and support each other and serve each other in bringing out the lower and the higher definitions. So who'd be willing to share first? Perfect, Rachel. Thank you for kicking us off.
So do you want me to go through what my conflict is, or
Yeah, so just say briefly what's coming up for you.
I'm just having like a lot of conflict with my husband at the moment.
Mhm.
And what's coming up is I feel like I really hate him. I don't feel valued. I feel like he's taking over stuff. He thinks he's better than me, and he makes me feel like I'm powerless and really fucked up. And what I'm feeling is hurt, despair, disappointment, angry, powerless, disrespected, unnecessary, insignificant. And I feel like he doesn't listen to me. He's really aloof and he's just a fucked up asshole at the moment.
Fantastic. Thank you for your honesty. That's really interesting. Thank you. That's very, very honest of you to share that. Brilliant. Thanks, Rachel. Who would like to go next? Thanks, Karen.
Yeah, so the conflict that I connected with was working on creating an outline for a retreat that I'm running with my partner.
Mhm.
So the challenge part of it is the collaboration aspect of it. Like
Mhm.
this, so, there's this, I know how to do this better than he does. I'll be the one doing all the heavy lifting. But also there's this, I have to prove myself, and that I'm trying hard. I feel frustrated, because I want to be held. I want to have someone else take care of things.
Yep.
It feels like a negotiation, that I have to fight for what I want, or that I have to state my case and defend my position.
Mhm.
Um, that he brings concepts, but he doesn't bring detail. So this feels edgy. I feel edgy and I feel tense.
Excellent. Excellent. Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you. And Ronit, what did you come up with? Lovely.
So, I hate to say that I've done a conflict deconstruction on this a very long time ago, and it's still a problem. And it's just a sale that keeps falling through with something my late father left behind, with just a terrible, terrible man. So I'm still trying to just get this property off my name, get this company off my name, get this to be part of my past. And it's
Mm.
been going on now since beginning of 23. So it's
Right.
been a long time.
Rumbling on. Yeah.
Yeah, and every time, there's almost a thing that falls through, almost a thing that falls through. So it's just so I just feel that people are cheats, they takers, they fake, they're inefficient, they're stupid, and they're unethical. And I feel drained by this particular topic, that my energy is sucked, annoyed, and frustrated.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well done, everybody. Brilliant. It's lovely. That's three really good different examples that we can see. But and Ronit, yours is just a perfect example of an oscillating structure, isn't it? The push me pull you are going forward and back, and like yeah, I sense that frustration. That's really interesting. Brilliant. So thank you for sharing all of that. So knowing what we know and knowing what you've called up, which is brilliant. We're footling around in the mud in the grado. Okay. I like to use the analogy that, with the alchemical process and even just in life, right? My work, the symbol I use in my work is a lotus flower because I love the fact that the lotus flower will have its roots in all the hideous, sticky, nasty black mud stuff, but it rises and it comes to the surface and it blooms, and it knows exactly when to do that, and it's beautiful when it does. But it also looks after itself and rests and closes and opens again. But without having its roots in all that mud, it wouldn't be the beautiful thing that it becomes. So see yourselves all like lotus flowers, right? So we're footling around in the mud, which is nourishing all your plant roots, ready to flourish and shine. And so, if you reflect back, each of you, on the problem that you're experiencing and the thoughts and feelings that are coming up around that, we're going to do the definition of self, others, and world. Because I think it's always really interesting to pull that out. So how are we defining ourselves in that? And you've already, covered a lot of that anyway, in what you're coming up with your thoughts and feelings. So just do, what does it mean about you? So what are the definitions and meanings that you're giving to self, others, and the world? So the definitions of self will generally be the I am statements. I am this, I am that, others are, and the world is. And when we're ready, let's share. Rachel, do you want to go first?
Sure. I am worthless. I am fucked up in mental case. I am powerless. I am incapable. Others are capable and have it together, powerful, persecutors and deciders. The world is mean and cruel, unfair, nasty, and unsafe.
Oh, brilliant. Awesome. Great awareness. Brilliant awareness. Who'd like to go next? You next?
Yeah, I'm happy to go.
Okay.
So my definition of self is that I'm invisible,
Yeah.
that I have to fight for what I want, and that my gifts go unnoticed.
Brilliant.
Others get their own way, even if they're wrong,
Yeah.
and the world doesn't care or protect me,
Brilliant.
which also had an aspect of, it's a challenge. I've got to fight.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Mm.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And Monique, what about you? What come up for you, lovely?
Well, the definition of self is that I'm a passenger, like I'm not steering my own ship. And so
Mm-hmm.
there's an element of powerlessness because
Yeah.
I can't control the situation.
Yeah.
Others, that the power and movement is in their hands, and the world decides when is when.
Mm. And so what does that make the world then? If the world decides when and when?
Well, the keeper of time, the keeper of action, the keeper of beginning and end, the keeper it's just the keeper,
Yeah.
the gatekeeper, I guess, just of. of how it's
Yeah,
going to be.
brilliant, brilliant. Great stuff. Well done, everyone. That's a really good acknowledgement and awareness, isn't it? And what I've come to understand is that with all thoughts and feelings, our egoic thoughts and feelings generally, um, obviously it's our inner, as we know, it's our inner children that are speaking. But essentially, all the thoughts and feelings and everything and emotions that we have actually come down to we're acting out of, egoically acting out of one or more of three core emotions, which is anger, sadness, and fear. So in all of you, there is that sort of anger and powerlessness, and the powerlessness is related to the anger, like in the Enneagram, feeling powerless. In the Enneagram, we have not saying that you are number eight, but the 891 is around instinct and anger. And when we feel powerless, there is that sense of real frustration that comes with that, and that's a form of anger. And there's also like a fear as well about things just not working out for me. It doesn't matter what I do. There's consequences for these things not going right. If what I'm wanting isn't going right, then there's a fear of what that's going to look like, and sadness around the fact that things aren't going the way we'd like them to, and that these situations are still going on. And so then what we're doing now is actually trying to pull out the underlying assumption. So in reviewing your answers to the definitions and meanings of self and others and the world, and the thoughts and feelings, let's just lean in now and get an intention for each of you to get your core underlying assumption out. And just lean into what's the underlying assumption. Right, how's everyone going with their underlying assumptions? Yeah, got them out? Brilliant. Right, let's go for it.
I always find this one really difficult, but I think what's come to me in this is the world isn't safe for me. I'm incapable of functioning in it and needs others to rescue me.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, what came up for me when I leant into yours was that what your the underlying assumption is that you're insignificant and that there's something wrong with you that you need to fix before you can have what you want.
Yeah.
Perfect. Karen, how did you go?
Yeah, the first thing I got was I can't have my own way.
Mhm.
But then I kind of resolved more with I can't have my heart.
Yeah, brilliant. What I got with that was that you need to, I lent in, and then what I got was that you need to sacrifice yourself to be seen, heard, and appreciated, and that you have to do it all. Because unless you do it all,
Won't
it will
happen.
fail, it won't happen. You take on the
Yeah.
responsibility of it. Yeah?
Yes.
Cool. Monique, what was
Thank you.
yours? You're welcome.
I'm not capable of completing this on my own. I have to rely on others and play the game. Allow others to even get away with thievery and bad behavior. The crook doesn't always lose. Being right, patient, and of pure heart doesn't mean I'm exempt from boxing in the mud with the worms and the muck.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant. So when I lent into yours, what came up for me was that your underlying assumption is that you have no control. You have absolutely no control because you feel that about not just others, but also the world, right? So if the universe is saying, oh no, I'll decide when, and if others, are the power is in their hands, they make the decisions whether it's right or wrong, even though they're not good people, they're the ones that do it, and therefore you're just at the mercy of others. It's absolute, yes, it's not just being powerless, you absolutely have no control. It's almost like there's nothing you can do, so I have no control. That's what came up for me. Brilliant. Excellent. So let's now, if we assume in our egoic orientation that we will do, that the answer to the last question is true. So we pretend that we can't have our own way, you can't have your heart, you have to do it all, you have no control, you're powerless, you're insignificant, unappreciated, and you're broken, and you need to fix yourself, before you can have what you want. There's something wrong, fundamentally wrong with you. If we assume that to be true, how do we cope with that? What do we do to cope with that? We're thinking from sort of like resolving our tension dysfunctionally. How do we cope with it? When you're ready, let's just share what do you notice
I'm ready.
Yeah, go
Um,
for it.
So what I notice is that I like put on this mask as if I've got it all together, and I become a complete control freak about things, and everything has to be done to the nth degree so that there's no room for anything to fall apart. And the more I try and push it and force it all together, the more it seems to fall apart. I pretend to be powerful and be like go around with being angry and aggressive, and then when I'm not heard, I grandiose and scream louder and louder. And then I have to like make the problem so it's like so inflated because I'm just not being heard. And or then I switch to the other tactic, which is fall in a complete heap and go, I'm so powerless and I'm a victim, and I can't even do anything. And then I throw all of the things that I've created away and destroy and sabotage everything.
Wow. Amazing. And so what's the inevitable end result when you're putting your power into that?
But I just destroy everything, and I have nothing left, nothing to live for, just death and like despair.
Yeah. And given the problem you turned up with, it's hardly any wonder there's lots of conflict with your husband, is there?
Yeah.
Because you're creating it, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. Brilliant. Brilliant. Great awareness. Great awareness. Awesome. Right. Karen, right away.
Yeah, so how do I cope with it all? Well, I resolve the tension by doing it all myself.
Yep.
So I take it on. I assume that, yeah, we just have to do things their way, even though I don't agree with it, or so I give up. I give up my heart and I concede and I accept defeat.
Brilliant. And so then bearing in mind that the problem that you came with was issues around collaborating and working on creating a retreat. So what's the inevitable end result?
Well, I don't end up doing what I want.
And also you take on an awful lot of the burden.
Yeah, I end up
Yeah.
doing, the lion's share of the work.
Yeah, exactly. See, isn't it interesting how it always comes back? Wonderful. And Ronit.
I keep rowing upstream, keep pushing, pleading, trying to get it done, always preparing for battle. So I still allow it to take unnecessary space in my mind and days.
Mm. So it's using up a lot of your energy.
Leaking energy, I would could say.
Yeah, brilliant. And then in relation to the issue that you came up with, which is trying to get this company and house and property and everything out of your name and do this deal, and it's been going on for 3 years now. So what's the inevitable end result of you resolving the tension dysfunctionally?
That I'm burning elements and part of my life that I could be writing my book or doing a million other creative things. Like the problems there, I'm giving it too much of me because giving it more of me isn't going to make it different or go faster or whatever. Of course, I need to put in what's needed when it's needed, but also in between, let it go so that my energy can be spent where I really want it to be, which is in my heart.
Yeah, brilliant. Because I think, what that one clearly shows, isn't it, that all the while you're sort of pushing and like you were saying, giving your energy to trying to resolve this thing, all it's doing is sapping your energy and taking you away from being a creator. So the ego is being very clever, isn't it, and actually preventing us from creating what it is that we really would love to create, you know? And so that's where we're putting our power, you see. So the intentions, even though we think we're going for something that we want and we're doing it from the right orientation, actually, when we dig underneath, you can see that actually the underlying structures and our underlying beliefs are actually what's running the show, and therefore the end result will inevitably stay the same or stay stuck or oscillating in something, because the intention, when we sit in the tension, we're actually resolving the tension of the egoic stuff as opposed to just seeing it and actually the energy going into what we would love to create instead. So I'm just going to change. I like to change this exercise around a little bit because I want to lean in while we're in the Negredo and in the roots of where our beautiful lotus flower comes from. So let's identify the emotion of the wound. So when we feel wounded like this, and that everything is just continues to do the same, it's taking your energy away, you're destroying everything, creating conflict, you have to do the lion's share, you're giving up on your hearts and all of that. What emotions come up with that? Reflecting on all the questions that have come up, all the underlying beliefs that have come up, the dysfunctional resolving behaviours, what we do to try and shift things back in the way we want them to be, and try and compensate and resolve. What's the emotion of the wounds that come up? And when you're ready, just give us a thumbs up. Awesome, Rachel.
The first emotion that comes up for me is anger and rage, and then underneath that is betrayal of self and others, and then underneath that is like hurt, fear, and despair.
Perfect.
But it's like it's got all these layers on top too, because the hurt and fear and despair is not nice, and so it's covered up with the more palatable emotions.
Yeah, no, I think great awareness. And then Karen, what about you?
Yeah, I connected with feelings of being frustrated and annoyed, and also this feeling of just being weary, like worn down, and hopeless.
Brilliant. And Ronnie, what about you?
Well, I was kind of still getting there, but because for me, the thing is, it's an unbroken pattern of not being heard, not being seen and valued. Like that the man, they always think they're better. They always think they know better than me. But I just know that I'm wiser. I know, so it's like it's just absolute fucking annoyance and like a feeling of just wanting to scream and like because I saw this all happening before it even began, but no one listened to me, and I'm still dealing with those men that think they just a bit know it all. So I'm trying to identify the actual, of course, there's frustration there, there's disgust actually, and there's it's not disappointment, it's just like I'm not even angry anymore. I'm bitter. I guess I'm bitter. Like it's just different. I think there's a slight nuance. I'm just bitter. I'm just fucking bitter.
I'm
Like,
fed up.
So I think that's the
Yeah.
feeling.
No, that's brilliant. So, like I mentioned before, it's really interesting because with all of you, there's a real anger in this. And, it's the frustration and the sadness as well of the fact that you cannot make yourself heard, really. Doesn't matter what you do, so, and like I said, in childhood, we will basically act out of one of all of three emotions, anger, fear, and sadness. It will all boil down, whatever it is, the emotional dictionary, we can actually just bring it down to just three: anger, fear, sadness, but we're always acting out of those.
If I have to just go a step further, I just want to add it's beyond that. It's like because it's such a complex situation, bless my father or whatever, like I'm forced to play a game
Yeah.
because I can't, because there are threats. So I can't, it's not like a clean, so it's like I'm forced into this role where even though the truth is obvious and everyone knows what everyone's done and everything, I'm still in a place that I can be threatened. So I'm actually
Yeah.
the power's out of me because of potential threats and who I'm actually dealing with. So I'm
Yeah.
forced to to
Wow.
to play a certain way, otherwise I can put myself at risk.
So you're
So it's like
being
the
forced to act
game.
out of fear as well. So fear
Yeah,
is in there.
yeah.
Mm. Well acknowledged. Yeah, brilliant.
So
Good. Okay. And so acknowledging those feelings that are coming up and everything. So what emotion, I mean, what action is driven when you're in those emotions? So what's the inevitable behaviors that you do? What are the things that you do? What are the actions that you take when you're coming from that space? When you're finding yourselves in your problems, conflicts, and dilemmas? I like to structure this question actually in what is it that you do, but also what you don't do when you're coming from these emotions and from this place. There are things that we do, but also things we probably don't do.
Are you quite comfortable there?
Yes, and Mal come to join us. Look at that. My cat would be in here on my lap if I gave her the chance. She always likes to come to sessions.
Coco loves coming to sessions.
Brilliant. Well, they're our familiars, aren't they? The cats are our
Yeah.
familiars. Brilliant. So, Rachel, what did you pick up in terms of what action
Just
or
let me push
inaction?
my cat's bum off my page. So I get that when I feel like I'm backed into a corner and I feel like I become animalistic and like a wild animal and bitch and scream and hiss and fight.
Yeah,
And I push people away and just don't believe I can rely on anybody else. So I push everybody away and only like isolate and only rely on myself. I hurt
brilliant.
others because I'm feeling hurt. I react to things rather than out of like fight and flight.
Yeah,
And I don't forgive and I withdraw and retreat and go do the silent treatment.
yeah, brilliant. Great awareness.
I
Thank you for
have to
sharing.
add, while you were sharing all of that, you were literally pushing your cat away. So I found that quite like amusing. And then you were speaking about animals and hissing and everything, and you like literally, it was funny. Sorry. I just
Yeah,
had
no,
to
that's observing the obvious beautifully, Ronnie. Absolutely. Right, Karen, what behavior,
Yeah, so that was interesting. The actions is that I would resort to sarcasm and so
Mhm.
become a bit childish
Yeah,
and, like have a bit of a, not a full-on tantrum kind of thing,
no,
but just to bring in a bit of that childlike kind of, oh, yeah, if you want it that way, I suppose.
mhm.
Yeah, so and there's it's manipulation, right?
Great
I'm
awareness.
using my emotions to try and manipulate to get what I want.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, that was kind of interesting. And then the what I don't do, um, is I don't speak from my heart. So, in this whole thing, I'm like, oh, I'm not able to have what I want in the retreat structure, but I'm not asking for what I want either.
Brilliant awareness.
Like,
Brilliant
if
awareness.
I'm not asking, I'm not going to get it right. Yeah, because I'm afraid there's fear that what my heart wants will be rejected.
Yeah,
So I don't want to
perfect.
ask for it. In case,
Of
like, what a
course.
fucking ridiculous circle to be going round and round in.
I know, but you
And
see,
I
this is
get
the
what I
power of
want, but I don't
awareness.
ask for what I want, so I can't have what I want. And I'm like, ah,
I know, but this is why this exercise is so bloody brilliant. Because
yes.
it's big guns. It's one of the big gun exercises in the curriculum. That's why I chose it, because it's so
Yeah.
amazing to bring up the awareness. Oh my God. And see where we're putting our power, right? Ronit, what about you, lovely?
I play small. I listen to my lawyer's advice. I allow it to drag on. I wait and I also pray.
Yeah.
And what I don't do is I don't hold the people fully accountable for their actions and thievery.
Brilliant. Amazing. Amazing. Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So, if you just recap over all the stuff, I think you will agree that you can all see this is actually coming from an egoic place and this isn't your truth, right? You know that this stuff about you and how it's playing out isn't the truth of you, right? You're all creators, you're all divine spirit. You all have your desires and your imagination of things that you'd really love to create instead. So, what I want you to do now, we're just going to very quickly connect you into your higher, and we'll go to that which takes you higher. So imagine like the lotus flower. We've dug around in the roots and we've got some really wonderful compost and fertilizer to grow our beautiful lotus flower from. And so I'd like you to imagine rising up into the golden ball of light, your unique individual golden ball of light that sits above your head like a small sun about a meter across, shining brightly, and it sits there all the time. It's about a meter or so above your head. And at any time, at any point, when we come to awareness, we can rise up into that golden ball of light. I'd like each of you now to rise up. Imagine that you're the roots of the lotus flower rising up, looking to get to the surface of the lake or the pond so that you can open and bloom. Go up into your beautiful golden ball of light and bask in the glory of the golden ball of light. Really be in it, be it. You are it, you are the light. This is you in your divinity, your pure creator self in your heart, coming from the space of the golden ball of light. And I want you to just notice in the golden ball of light, what is it that you actually love? What do you love? What things do you love? It might be a sense of freedom or confidence, being energized. It might be radiating your light, helping others, whatever it is, just get a real sense of what it is you love. What do you love? Really get a sense of what it is that you love in your golden ball of light. Just write down, capture the essence of that, you and your greatness, what you actually love, what you really love. Really capture and make sure you get a really good sense of what it is that you love. And then when you get a real sense of what it is that you love, all the things that you would just love, identify an emotion that goes with that. What's the emotion of what you love? And capture that. The emotion of what you love. And when you've captured the emotion of what you love, really drop into that emotion of what you love. Just notice what action is driven from this feeling state instead. When you drop into the emotion of what you love, what action do you do and don't do in this feeling state? And then when you're ready, let's just share what that experience was like when you go into your golden ball of light. You reconnect with what it is that you love, what you want to bring forth, or what you love, what that emotion brings up in you, what that stirs in you, the feelings it stirs in you, and then what action, how you behave when you're in that feeling state instead. What did you get, Rachel?
So I got that there was this real spiritual connection to source what I loved is my cat Coco, the sun, Bali and tropical paradise, traveling, creating beautiful things, that sort of self-wisdom and self-truth, ocean, swimming, space, freedom, nourishment, accepting all of me, seeing the goddess, or living the goddess. And the emotion was, well, it was also like my own self sanctuary, and sereneness, inner wisdom, connection with source, joy, contentment, and peace. And the actions was to follow my heart and do what's true for me, not obliging and pandering to others. Yoga or meditation where I can connect into source and spirituality, time to connect and channel to source, and then like having sacred spaces and places, and just allowing the space for that sort of creativity to bubble up. And, you know, when there's space, things just like those creative ideas sort of percolate and, you know, form. And so, yeah.
Brilliant. Infinitely better, huh?
Sorry?
An infinitely better place to be.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic, fantastic. Karen, what was your experience? Lovely.
Thank you. What do I love? I've connected with connection, the word connection, and so people connecting, energetic connection, and so um, in the structuring of the retreat, it's like, oh, but this is all that's important, really. You know, this is what I love, and to be able to create and actually to play. So to use imagination, just make it up, actually, and then it doesn't really matter, and who really cares? So there's this real like, stop stressing about the whole thing. Like just yeah, it's and joy. Joy is the big emotion that kind of covers all of that. Play, it's fun, it's a pleasure, and being able to having the opportunity to connect with people is just such an honor and a privilege. And yeah,
Fantastic.
that's where I want my intention to be.
There we go. There we go. Brilliant. Brilliant joy. Absolutely. That's what I picked up on. Absolute joyfulness. Yeah, fantastic. And having a heart, right? You can just play. It's playful, it's joyous, you can be fully expressed, and there's none of this other stuff going on because you're creating what you love and bringing joy into your life and creating from a place of joy, feeling the joy of it. Amazing. Ronnie, what about you, lovely?
Um, so I got play, music, creativity, dance, flight, possibilities, adventure, intimacy, connection, service, friends, family, health, me, the elements, and William. Emotion, expansion, love, joy, innocence, and drive. Action. I float in the stream of life. I take in all the beauty. I stop and rest, tranquil and open. I receive the bits that are meant just for me to create my heart in limitless ways.
Wonderful, 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 wonderful. And so this is part of what I wanted to show you today because emotions are energy in motion, right? And there's a whole wealth of difference when we're coming from a place where we're creating from the emotions of what we love compared to the emotions of the dysfunctional stuff that's actually been running the show. So this offers an opportunity every day to reconnect. And so what would you choose? Which of these paths would you choose, your lower or your higher in life? It's a no-brainer, right? So knowing, really feeling into what it's felt like today, to know what it is when you're in your true creator self, when you're in your higher definition, I'd like you to just focus on that, focus and really bring in what it feels like and lock it in. We're going to anchor it in of what it is when you actually choose to approach life and everything, not just the conflict we brought today, but everything in life from this wondrous place. When we choose to be in the higher. Because when we can remember this and lock this in, and every time we're feeling the lower emotions, it's just an opportunity, it's just a mirror to say, oh, look, let me refocus. And so I want you to anchor in that feeling state, of the feeling state of the joy and the bliss and doing what you love, being in creative flow, your energy is flowing, just, doing what you love, bringing to the world what you love, acting out of how you love to be. Just really want you to lock that in. And when you really feel like you've locked it in, just lean in and come up with a definition in your higher definition. So, for example, my higher definition is that I'm a creative warrior of truth and light, bringing joy, fun, and playfulness into that process. So, I'd like you to come up with a higher definition for yourselves that really encapsulates for each of you your higher definition. Lean in and just come up with a beautiful definition in your high definition of who you are. You can even do it so that you actually like see yourself. So it's not just, you actually see yourself like a movie, short clip of a movie, you're the blockbuster movie and you're the A-list celebrity in it. And this is in your higher definition. This is who you are and how you are. See yourself in your higher definition. This is always something you can lean into more and spend some time. Your golden ball of greatness and the golden ball of light, which is you, is always there to rise up into. And sometimes we forget it's there. And at any point, any moment, in any point in time in the day, you can always just rise up into it and get back into that beautiful state. And that's an intentional thing, intention rules the universe. So then you've got your statements. It'd be really great if you could share them. It'd be lovely to hear what your higher definitions are now. Go for it. You don't have to go in order. We can just, whoever's ready.
I am a golden thread of the purity of innocent soul, worthy of creating my heart and leaving a trail which will leave. Okay, I'm not going to use that word leaving twice. Okay, but leaving a trail which will leave an eternal ripple.
Perfect. How wonderful.
Thank you.
Who's next? Go then, Karen.
Yeah, I got creator of joyful connection through heart-centered awareness.
Wonderful. That feels good, doesn't it? I love that one. Yeah, fantastic. Rachel, what did you get, darling?
I am a goddess connected to my heart, drawing on a spirituality to birth my beautiful creations.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So I hope that what we've demonstrated today in the session is that, our emotions are energy in motion. So our lower level emotions, when we were in the problem, in the conflict, in the dilemma, the lower level emotions seek like a dysfunctional resolution. So we act out of our, inner child, and we act out of anger and sadness and fear, and we feel all those feelings, and that drives us to behave in certain ways, which is not would not be our preferred. Actually, when we go into the higher emotions of what we love, access to our hearts, to our golden ball of light, that's what drives the inspired action. You can see how different the actions and behaviors you take towards your end results from that perspective. So I offer you to set the intention of being in the tension of your end results from the higher perspective, acknowledging the lower perspective, and that exists, but neutralizing it and always acting out, going to and coming from higher. And you can reframe many points in the day when you feel stuff coming up. Conflict is the mode of awareness, the triggers, the emotional kind of, you feel yourself a bit riled, or you're feeling yourself sad, or you're feeling yourself put upon or overburdened, or in this problem. It's like it's a reminder to go like, I recognize that. This is my lower definition. What's my higher definition? I choose that. Every day when I wake up, I remember my land of plenty. I do a grounding and connecting exercise, and I go to the golden circle of my greatness. I stand in my greatness, and I remember, tell myself my higher definition. I'm a bloody creative warrior of truth and light with joy, fun, and playfulness brought in. That's who I am. And I have an image of that I have for myself. I remember who I am when I stand in that space and come and act from that space. So I'd like to offer you the same thing, that your intention will create what it is that you want.
Thank you.
No, thank you. It was what a lovely, lovely
It was wonderful.
session. No, I've so enjoyed it. It's been lovely to actually do the session together and share, and I really appreciate your generous sharing. And I think hopefully what we've seen today is that what the problem and the conflict you came with, you can see actually how you created that, and now you can actually create differently. You can create in favour of what you want by being in your higher. No more suffering. Let's go for the joy, the bliss, the love, the peace, the tranquility, the serenity, the travel, the adventure, the things that we love, and how much better life is from there. Awesome.
Thank
So
you
what
so
are you going to go
much.
forward and create next then, beautiful people?
Thank you, Nikki.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah.
I'm about to do my new land of plenty. So
Fabulous.
doing this session was a good thing for me before I get into my new,
Awesome.
formulating my choices from my land of plenty that I've done.
Yeah, amazing. Fantastic. So just always, I invite you, set the intention to be in the tension, which is going to favour resolving in favour of what you want rather than what you don't want. And that all is around identifying the lower emotions, but always choosing the higher. And then just let things unfold. It's not something we have to force. We just come from that place, from our hearts. And things will naturally unfold, and we take those, follow the breadcrumbs.
Mm.
Good to see you,
And,
Rachel and Karen. Just want to say,
Yes, thank
another
you.
Yeah,
it was nice sharing
Thank
this
you
time.
both for your shares. Mm.
yeah.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, there we go.
Thanks,
It's
Nikki.
been a pleasure to be of service to you
Thanks,
today, and
Nikki.
it's been a really joyful experience for me as well to be of service to you. And can't wait to hear about your creations and see you on another class or session or something again soon. And be great to hear how you're going.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
Take care now, everybody. Lots of love.
Bye.
Bye.